All right, everybody. So welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. So today we're going to be talking about the summer transition. So we're getting out of spring, we're going into summer. This is a great time of year to catch a lot of big bass. A lot of people struggle with the summer transition, but it's no big deal. I promise this is my favorite time of year, so I'm going to walk you through exactly what I do and how to catch them. So stay tuned. This is something you definitely don't want to miss. All right, everybody. So we're going to be talking about the summer transition. Now, this is a time of year, like I said, a lot of people struggle with this time of year. And I used to be one of those guys, but I've got a friend that likes to fish as long as it's 105 degrees or hotter. We typically go at 12 o'clock and then stay till about dark. So it's kind of had to learn to adjust. But either way, it's my favorite time of year to fish now, simply because it's always remember when the water temperature's heating up, then the metabolisms of the fish, the bait fish, all that stuff goes up also. So typically they're moving a lot faster. Everything's just quicker and they stay hungry longer. So you're going to catch more of abundance of fish. Typically you're going to find them schooled up and things like that. So it's a real great time to be on the water. The only downside is to it, you know, you've got a lot of pleasure boaters and stuff that enjoy the lake. A lot of guys on jet skis and, you know, stuff like that. So you kind of got to work around that. But, you know, your typical areas where you're going to find these fish, always remember, like I talked about in the blueback herring video, you got fish that spawn on the main lake, they die on the main lake, they just stay on the main lake. Same with the ones in the creeks, okay? And then you have the ones that transition. So right now in the summer transition, it's a great time to catch them in the creeks, on the main lake and stuff like that. Typically I focus on the main lake for the first part of the day, especially when there's not a whole lot of boats out here. So when there's not a whole lot of boats roaming around, then I've kind of got free roam on the main lake. I'm not getting beat up too bad or anything like that. But now here's another thing. Don't ever forget this. Those pleasure boaters and stuff, they can be your friend on the main lake, because a lot of times these guys, when they cruise by and stuff and get that water moving and turning up, it makes those shad move. And when those shad move, it fires up the fish. So don't be afraid to be on the main lake, especially if you've got a boat that's stable enough to be on the main lake. Just be safe, because, you know, there's a lot of people that get out there and act crazy and everything else. So, you know, just make sure you're staying safe while you're doing it. But either way, you know, don't be afraid to be out on the main lake. So your main lake points is going to be a #1 go-to, especially early in the morning. Okay, your top water bites is going to be great. So typically I'm throwing a walking bait or a buzz bait when the water is choppy. Okay, when we got wind, we've got a little bit of glare on the water, stuff like that. Your buzz baits, your walking baits and stuff like that is going to be a good go-to. Now when the water calms down and it's just slick like ice, then I'm typically going to run something like the popper. I'm going to run something like a heading torpedo, anything like that, that's a little more subtle, but I can still get those good bites. Oh, there's one right there. Like, come off. Hit it right there at the boat. But either way, I mean, you know, you kind of got to balance your bait selection. So, you know, when it's choppy and stuff, you can really move those baits really fast, especially when they're chasing. When they're chasing, you gotta move those baits fast. You can never reel a bait or move a bait fast enough during the summer, okay? So that 75-degree water temp and up, you definitely got to move those baits. You got to keep them going, okay? I mean, the water temperature right here we're at is 71. You can see how fast I'm reeling. I'm burning this square bill crankbait. Same thing with spinnerbait. My wife's back here running the spinnerbait. She's moving the spinnerbait fast. We've caught several today off spinnerbait and crankbaits, moving them quickly. We've got wind, we've got clouds, so we can, you know, we can get these baits moving and catch fish that way. Now, another thing, Texas rig worms, Texas rig crawls, all that stuff is great. Typically at the first part of summer, especially during the first part of the summer transition, I'm going to throw something like a 9 or a 10-inch worm, 9-10-inch ribbon tail. I like the Zoom Magnums. Those are really good option. Yum makes a good ribbon tail. But that's typically what I'm going to throw when it comes to Texas rigs. And I'm typically throwing my Texas rigs when the bite slows way down, okay? So when, you know, it goes from just wide open, then the fish start moving a little bit further down and suspending and stuff, I'm going to run those baits up on those points and in those grassy areas out further towards the boat. I'm going to stay far off the grass line or whatever I may be fishing and bring that bait out to them. Because typically you're going to get that bite on that drop off, okay? Now my retrieves on a Texas rig will vary. So sometimes I will do a slow reel. And when I say slow reel, I mean I'm reeling my Texas rig worm about this fast, okay? So I am moving it kind of quickly. And then a lot of times when the bait or when the bite is just, it's like you can't catch nothing, then I'm going to let that bait sink, and then I'm going to pick that line up and I'm going to reel up my slack and then come back up and stuff like that. That's typically the way that I'm going to work a Texas rig. But your top waters, your spinner baits, your square bill crankbaits, your Series 3 Strike King crankbaits and stuff like that. And here's the thing, guys, make sure to go down in the description. I will have all the baits linked. So you can just click on that and it'll carry you straight to Tackle Warehouse or whatever tackle company has the bait. And, you know, you can go straight there and see exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to these baits. So, but either way, guys, so early in the morning, you want to, you know, I mainly focus on main lake, points, grassy areas, anything that's kind of wind blown typically is where I'm going to focus. And then as the day gets, you know, progresses, of maybe 10 or 11 o'clock and the bite kind of slows down sometimes it don't. Sometimes you just rotate points all day. But either way, if the bite slows down, then I'm typically going to move back into the mouths of my creeks. Okay, so I'm not going all the way in the back unless there's a, you know, freshwater spring coming in back there. But I may go into the mouth and then work my way around the mouth and kind of, you know, maybe a quarter of the way into the cove. And you know, if I start seeing a lot of bait fish or something like that, then I may focus on that area pretty heavy. If I don't, then, you know, I kind of move on and do my thing. But either way, that's typically what I do. But just always remember, make sure to move. Move. You want that bait moving quickly, okay? Cover a lot of water. A lot of times this time of year, they have different feeding times. So you may get on a point, they're eating at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then by 6:15, they're shut down for an hour, okay? Get up, go to the next spot. A lot of times you'll get in a rhythm and you'll start understanding, hey, these guys are eating at 6 to 6:15. These guys are eating from 8 to 8:30, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And then you can just rotate those areas throughout the day or tournament or whatever you may be doing. But I guarantee you'll catch a lot more fish if you'll move. Just move your bait quickly. If your arms aren't burning after an hour, you're probably not moving fast enough, okay? And a lot of times this time of year, I hear a lot of people ask about, well, they're coming up and they're short striking my bait, or, you know, they're just getting the tail end of it and stuff. 99% of the time when that happens, it's because the fish are getting a good look at the bait. Typically what I do to supplement that is I will move the bait faster. I just know that I'm not moving the bait fast enough, and then, you know, I may start catching them. So, you know, your shad patterns, your crawl patterns is always going to be very dominant on whatever lake you're fishing. So, you know, don't forget about that. Also, don't let creature baits get out of the way, you know, this time of year. You get those real grassy areas, you know, a lot of like Strike King rage bug, frogs, all that kind of stuff, buzz baits, things like that is really going to come into play still this time of year. So, you know, don't put that past anything. Early in the morning, they're typically going to be pushed up in the grass where the shad is moved up in the grass, and then work their way out from there. So either way, guys, I hope the video helps you. If it does, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.